if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up, throw what can make a better man.
Okay, welcome everyone to the Pommy and Fazz show. On the back of another loss, it's like we started this show in 2018. We're getting a crash course in dealing with losses. I'm joined as always by his name's in the title, Big Fazz. Fazz, how are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, surprisingly pretty good. To be honest, I'm all right. I'm feeling okay. I had a really nice long chat after work today with two of my closest mates, Richie and Mitch, and we just sat around. We're just talking footy for a good half hour, 45 minutes, and it just really relaxed me, got me up and about almost as well. So, so shout out to those boys because they picked me up off the canvas, and good to go for tomorrow.
Mate, I've got to say, and I don't know how chat feels, everyone deals with losses differently, I've got to say. I'm one of them people that I kind of feel a little bit of a solace in, I wouldn't say pain and misery because that makes me sound like I'm Satan, but I do feel quite comfortable when shit goes wrong. It kind of gets me up and about to fight, and the fighter in me comes. And obviously we're going to start with our blue boys. How have you, just be honest, at round 11, chat as well, what do you feel? Just let's have a coping session. Let it all out. Give me how you're feeling.
It's a good question. I think people who know me well know I'm a real positive person most of the time, and how I feel that hasn't really changed. I mean, I personally feel like the pile on the Carlton Footy Club from the media has been a little bit unwarranted. I even think from the fans has been a little bit unwarranted in that regard. I mean, yes, obviously the performances the last couple of weeks haven't been great, but this pile-on has been happening since probably the St Kilda game, and people were acting like we were on the bottom of the ladder, 1-2 games, which is not right. I think I had a bit of an epiphany today, really, when I was talking to Richie and Mitch, and Mitch, who they're both Essendon supporters, and Mitch said to me, he goes, "Fazz, mate, what is it with the Carlton fans? Are they just worse than everybody else, or why are they so wound up? Like, what's going on?" Because every supporter sees it. And we actually, the three of us discussed, and we thought, think about when we were 8-2 last year, right? Because I agree, there's nothing, the only thing worse than being completely down and out is that moment where you get a little bit of a trickle and then you go down and out again. So I think about 8-2 last year, and I did a very interesting analogy when I said it's kind of like foreplay. 8-2 is your foreplay. You're really getting into it. You get a little bit of, oh, hello, it's happening. We're ready to go. And then all of a sudden it's not tonight, love. I'm too tired. And you just come crashing back down to earth. And it's just like, okay, well, whatever. We'll try again next week or next whatever. And next week never came. And I genuinely think that's why we're so frustrated. The Carlton supporters are the equivalent of a sexually frustrated middle-aged person, but starved of that success. And we thought we were going to get it. 8-2, we thought, this is it. We've broken through. We're breaking the drought. We're here. And to that come crushing down, I think we can all acknowledge right this minute, this is not the worst the Carlton Football Club's been. Not by a long way. It's not even top 5 the worst the Carlton Football Club's been. But the reality is, because of that high this time last year, that fall has just been very, very hard for some people to cope with.
Feel you. I feel you. It's the hope that kills you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fast and Chad's the hope. And you know what? One of my mates posted, Adrian. I think it was Adrian who reshared the Carlton fan cam of YouTube Sydney. I know Blue Abroad reshared it when I famously said, it's like having a 6-pack and a 12-inch. And I've got to admit, like, I flux from highs and lows. That's why I love the football club. Amy, friend of the channel, she nailed it. I probably like misery because I'm obsessed with the Smiths. So some poetic justice. I think the way I feel is, I'm going to say ripped off, but I don't mean ripped off as some people will take it. And it's not aimed at the club. I feel ripped off because I think I truly believed in my heart of hearts after the 8-2 that the shackles were gone. I could see there was a lot of work to do, right? But I think they got their nourishment. We'll use Vossi's words, nourishment, very, very early. Very early. And I think we all fed into that nourishment. I know I did. I think when we went 8-2, I dropped like $500 at the Carlton shop. Like, I went mental. I was like, socks, the sandals, fucking teddy bears. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was going mental. And then I feel like I got to where I am now. And I think in my heart of hearts, I knew there was a lot of rounding to do. I want to use an analogy. I kind of, and this is no discredit to Collingwood, but I was really bullish in pre-season on Collingwood when I was doing my work in the impartial sense of the word, where I don't have to be a Carlton fan, I'm a football fan. And I was disagreeing with a lot of the media about how easy it was for Collingwood to turn it around. And the reason I felt that was to get success out of the congested side of the game, which everyone criticised, was as easy as buying players, which they did. And lo and behold, it got better. With Carlton, I kind of looked and was like, they're going to have to structure up differently, right? Because you can't keep playing on a whim and a prayer with how fragile our list is. And I think we all accept, I think the excuse, and that guy who made that radio phone call, shout out to you. I think he nailed it when he said, we gave you an excuse last year with the injuries. And I think that was why my brain going into this season was, they're going to have to come up with something, because a lot of the players that they're relying on are literally fucking fragile. So I can't trust Mitch McGovern to play 23 games. I can't trust Zach Williams to play 23 games. I knew my brain was telling me, Snapper, thanks, Pete. Shout out to you, mate. I agreed with him in that. But then I look at what I'm experiencing now, and my brain is telling me it's as simple as Lou's nailed it. Where's Lou? Sorry. It's as simple as this. Like, I watch our team play, and this is where the ripped off comes from, that they worked so hard last year that basically the 8-2 was just an improvement on the basics, that they did have the best contested team in the competition. I think Lee Matthews' only work I like in the media was when he called us fraudulent when we had them big bodies and we never won. He was right. But now I look at it and Lou nails this. Like, for me, playing, you saw it round 2. They played JSOS in that role as the exit out of D50. And it kind of worked because of Motlop and Durden, because he didn't take the marks. And then as we got harder, they started to play Mackay 55 metres from our own goal. Now you're at the stage against Collingwood, which, like you say, right, someone lead to the fat side. The reason is because Carlton now have hemorrhaged them all in the behind the ball. Like, there was a great passage of play when they kicked a goal on transition that it went Mackay. Mackay was kicking to Kerno on the wing at halfway, and the next person in was Motlop. And I'm like, club's taking the piss here, right? And it's the basics have fallen off, and that is what kills me. And I think Frank nails it here. What I find really hard is I ignore everything the club say, because and I just ignore it and come up with my own assumption, because I think what has been said in the media this week needed to have been said round 4, right? And this is my issue, and I'd love to know your opinion, Fazz. I know you're always positive. I know there's some real fierce critics in chat, and keep being fierce and critical because that's how we get better. But I feel like Luke Sayers needed to come out round 4, round 5 and say what he did because the media noise was starting. The fans were already like, oh, we're winning, but it's shit, right? And you could see they were working towards something. We just don't know what that looks like, if it works. And I feel like suddenly now the club, when the media have got the knives out, Dimmer's left, there's all the pressure now. There's all the reason to sack Voss because Dimmer's there. That's an easy article to write. Why do they have to come out 6 weeks too late? Why can't they come out and say, right, everyone, we're trying to be more balanced, X, Y, Z. This needs to improve. We're well aware of it. And talk to us a little bit because I feel like the frustration from the fans comes from no fucker admits we're in a mess or not playing well until there's movements to sack coaches, oust the board. Fucking Kane Corns is saying Cripps will never play a final. We don't ever preempt it.
In regards to your Sayers coming out in, say, round 4, I think the fact is that we're unbeaten in round 4. I think regardless of how we're playing, I think majority of us around that time kind of felt that, okay, this is a layer that we're adding to our game, not really foreseeing what was coming. The Adelaide game was a shock. Then you hit the St Kilda game. And then you think, okay, right. Then you roll into the West Coast. To me, I'm not sure if it was 6 weeks too late. For me, it was after the Bulldogs game. I think it's maybe a week. I think I know a lot of people were panicking before then, but I didn't really feel panic stations at all until probably the Bulldogs game because you can go through it. Brisbane, I mean, they look untouchable. And, you know, say what happened in Adelaide happened in Adelaide. That was their grand final. We understand that. St Kilda. I understand. For me, what I try and surround myself and listen to people who actually have nothing to do with Carlton. I find those people a bit more, how do I word this without offending people? A bit more on balance with what they say. The thing about being a supporter and what I love about passionate supporters, and I'm one of them, we're all one of them, but being a supporter means you're one-eyed, you're biased, and you're irrational. All right. And we're seeing a lot of that, a lot of one-eyed, a lot of bias, and a lot of people being irrational, which is fine. That's your prerogative as a supporter. All right. But talking to like my Essendon mates who are just literally saying to me, like they're laughing. They're laughing, not at Carlton. They're just saying, mate, talk about an overreaction. I can't believe what the media is saying about Carlton. What an overreaction. These two blokes would say they'd still kill for what we've got compared to what they're going on there. And I'll even continue that. These guys see it all the time. I said, the only thing, and I quote, this was said to me by a really good mate of mine tonight, the only thing more laughable than what the media says about Carlton is what the fans are saying about Carlton. And that's coming from opposition supporters. And I actually agree with them. I'm like, and I love the passion. And I love we want to hear from the club. But the problem with being that is you do become irrational. I'm irrational. I'll put my hand up. You should have seen me in the Bulldogs game when Mitch McGovern flew for a mark in the goal square. I turned to my old man. I said, this bloke should never play for the club again. You know, that's the heat of the moment. That's how irrational you can be. Unfortunately, people take that for 7 days straight, and then we get to where we are. But a long-winded way of saying, I like what the messaging coming from the club this week. I do think it was maybe a week overdue, but I think they might have looked a little bit silly if they had have done it week 4 or week 5 when we were undefeated or just had one loss. Do you know what I mean?
I agree with you. And to answer how for you, dude, too, you know, this is what annoys me about the club. Now, this is my big bugbear because you can clip me now. Carlton are 100% playing finals. If I'm wrong, I'll own it. We'll work out some kind of punishment. I have no shadow of doubt in my mind that somehow these dickheads will turn it around. But what has annoyed me, and this is what I mean about it, is Geelong, right, when they changed their game plan after that catastrophic final series 2 years ago, Scott was really bullish, came out first week of preseason that this year was going to be a big change up. They're going to totally change it around. They're going to play a more on-brand final system. He wasn't sure how it was going to be and how long it was going to take to gel. But he was very open that something at Geelong was going to change in system-wise. I felt like Carlton kind of naively went about this in the terms of it was almost like, and this is just my impression, I don't know what happens in behind closed doors, but looking at it now, I kind of get the impression that they were naive to it because they knew that there was going to be 90k members based on last year. Where I think, for me, this is what I'm saying. Carlton wait until dickheads like Walls come out. Fuck Walls. He came back and Teague arguably played the worst football, right?
Yeah.
In his time. Matheson, fuck him. Fuck the Mathesons. Can't stand them. But what I mean is, though, a good football club on and off the field, a good football club, a good business doesn't react. It's proactive. And what I'm seeing now, and I'm going to be totally honest, I feel like all of you in chat now, I've gained enough credits in the bank that I know a bit about the game. Do you know what I mean? Not many people can predict drafts. Not many people can predict talent, things like that. I've spent a lot of time on this. There is nothing that I see at Carlton that isn't fixable. And remember, I was the first social media person to sack Teague. I did it about 8 months before anyone else thought of it because some of the shit I was seeing was unfixable. But like James says, we have the talent. At the moment, what I'm seeing is a side that I don't personally think is backed hard enough by the club. I actually think the players are going out there with undue pressure because of how the club acted in the off-season, where the off-season, they kind of pissed about and said, oh, it's all right. We're going again. But now you actually read between the lines, Bryon Cook, some of the things he said. It kind of makes sense that I don't think the list is anywhere near finalised. I think, Hannah, you've been grossly unfair about saying that the list is atrocious. I think it's like all these things for me aren't practical in elite industry. Like you can't use phrases like it's shit, it's unfixable because it's easy fixed. If the list is shit, you sack 20 players, you bring 20 in. It's a straight fix. But what I'm looking at is a side that at the moment, I don't feel like they're buying in to it. And I think it comes from the top, right? Literally the top, right? Literally the top of the board down to the fan base. Nothing's consistent. And I feel like pre-season, if they were going to change their system, they should have come out and preempted what we're seeing now because at the end of the day, Carlton finish off the season 8-2. They're probably top 5. So do you know what I mean? If they flip it, but why don't you come out and just say, look, the moment, this is what we're planning on doing. We're going to be a more well-rounded side. I feel like that added way too much pressure. And what you're seeing now is the products of these boys having to make changes on the fly because shit is getting too heavy off the field.
Yeah, no, a lot of things to address there. What you said, I think you're right in a few things. What I'll address is the players mimicking what's coming from the top. I think you're absolutely spot on. I made a post early on in the week where I said along the lines of a club that every time something gets difficult, knee-jerk reactions and sacks people. How can you expect players that when it gets difficult to fight out a game because they've seen the culture? This is the culture you breed. They're at a club of a culture that when it gets tough, we sack a bloke. So you're out in the game, the microcosm of that is you're out in the game. Oh, it's a bit tough today. I don't need to go hard because you know what? the club from the top to bottom doesn't go hard, which is the point I'm making. This is the culture we have built. Too tough, sack a bloke. Too tough, sack a bloke. Too hard, sack him. And then we bury the players when they don't fight hard. Think about your own workplace. If your boss is just not mimicking how you should or what you expect from him, you're going to do exactly the same. Why should I work hard when he's not working hard? That's the reality. So the other thing I'll say as well about people, I'm very big on this. Past greats, as they say, coming out and shit-canning the club and kicking them when they're down. The club owes these players, past greats or not, nothing. Absolutely nothing. The club made these players who they are and who they were. And coaches as well. Anytime Robert Walls comes out and sinks the boots in, Park and Pagan, or whoever it is comes and sinks the boots in, they're doing that for their own ego and not helping the club at all that they supposedly love. So as far as I'm concerned, anytime they open their mouths and something negative comes out, you lose all my respect of what little respect I had for you. Gone. Fast forward to Brendan Favola. All of a sudden, a bloke who wouldn't know success if it bit him on his fat ass comes out and telling Carlton what they need to do to be successful. Bro, mate, you were part of the most disgraceful era of the Carlton Football Club, and now you're saying what we need to do? Not to mention, I think I saw someone say we should listen to Fev. Carlton sacked him, and Carlton are coached by a bloke who sacked him at Brisbane. What the fuck does Fev care about Carlton? He would love to see that place burn to the ground along with Michael Voss in it because they were the ones who sacked him. So why should we listen to what he has to say? Be themselves. Be themselves. Stop listening to external people. Back your people in. That shows strength. Back your people in.
I'm with you. And I think the big thing here, and I saw Ben and Manny, both Collingwood fans, be nice to them because they're very respectful of our club and that they want us to get up there because they want a fucking decent battle. Do you know what I mean? As the AFL do. But you know what I'm seeing? And I saw a comment here, right, about bonding. And I think this is the big thing. I think Burn, Jay, Health for You. I think you're on to something here. What I'm really seeing from these boys, and chat, let me know what you think. I'm seeing a team that has too much pride in the terms of its self-preservation. Do you know what I mean? I think there is a lot of self-preservation on the ground in the terms of when the boys, go back and watch the first 3 minutes of the game versus Pies. Everyone is overlapping. A great little stat I've got here, right, is this time last year, Chera had 3 goals, right? Chera currently now has 3 goals. Cripps had 14 last year, right? So not playing identical positions as he is now, right? But so far, what's he got this year? He's got absolutely bobbins. He's got 1 goal. You're starting to see the midfield is about 20 goals shy of where it is. Another great example is Adam Sard. Adam Sard has exited D50 with the ball in hand half the amount of times as he did in 2022. And that's not structural because when Carlton have possession, you're seeing them mirror what they did last year. The big thing is now is game situation. And this is what I'd love the fans to come together and bash this out of why. Because I'm telling you from an analytical point of view, which is so important, and working with a few scouts in the AFL, it's the numbers are really average, which last year we had top 2 for some things, bottom 2, which is really normal. You don't often see median sides, which means something's missing. And you go back and watch the first 5 minutes versus Pies, the boys were matching Collingwood, nearly stroke for stroke, unlucky not to get the inside 50, but it was a deep, short entry inside 50, which is what they're looking for. Them 3 kicks, 1 goes into the corridor, 1 goes short, right? But then as soon as Pies kicked them 2 goals in a row, you really saw loads of things happen. Cripps in the first half passed halfway 6 times, right? 6 times. right, for the whole game, right? That is a big, big scare because he was too scared to get ahead of the ball carrier and create options. Walsh was massive last year for playing the give and goes, right? And it's balmy to me that you are seeing a side really quickly play safe. And I was speaking to one of the coaches at the NAB a couple of days ago, and we were having this chat, and he was saying that this is a real huge identification that he's watching when he's watching the game. And he hates Carlton, but he's like, how the players change in different situations. And he's like, you can see the game plan stays the same. However, in reality, the movement off the ball changes. And he was like, that is a huge problem. And that is coming. That needs to be stopped very quickly. And how do we do that, chat? Let's have a real open discussion of how we fix it.
Yeah, I think how we fix it. I think that these guys are professional athletes. They're professional footballers. Missing a training session is not going to be the worst thing in the world for them. I think something to go back out and say, remember why you got into this game in the first place. So almost go the other way and say, let's acknowledge how lucky you guys are, and all the us against the world mentality. Everyone's trying to sink the boots into you, but just remember, you're the ones that people are paying to go watch. You're the superstars here. You're the heroes. Remember why you've played this game. I think that there's a real opportunity for Voss to have, and I don't know if he did or not, but this is how I would do it personally, to simply not show one bit of negative footage at all this week. Not one. Show everything the players did right, whether it's from last year, this year, every single thing. Don't bring up any negativity and show everything they did right and say, let's not go out and fix what we did wrong. Let's go out and perfect what we're doing right. And I think that's the way you do it. Stop trying to fix what you're doing wrong. Get better at what you do well. You know, if you test an elephant on how it climbs a tree, it's always going to fail. So let's get these boys, what do they do right, and work on that. And I know I've upset a lot of people with what I'm saying about the ex-greats and all that. What I simply mean is, when you meet them face-to-face, of course, one-on-one, it's when they're getting on the radio, when they're getting in the newspaper. That's there for their own personal glory, not for the clubs. That's all I'm saying. So how do we fix it? I just said that. You got to get the boys confident again. They can do it. They're AFL footballers. I do not subscribe to the fact or the message of people saying they're not AFL standard or they're not this. They're AFL footballers. Whether you're drafted pick 1 or pick 70, you can play the game a little bit. So get them back into what makes them tick. What's their strengths? And I think Cripps is a perfect example of that. Why try and turn Cripps into something that he's not? What does he do well? What does Cripps do well? He's in it, just handball it out to the better ball users. Jacob Wiedering's a perfect example. What did he do well when we were going well? Right? Go back to that. Don't try and be something that you're not. Perfect what you're doing well. Forget what you're doing wrong. Because, and I know this might rub the wrong way with a lot of the old school thinking people, but mindset is everything. It's 2023. You got to get your head in the right mindset. Negativity does not work. Voss going into the change room, kicking chairs, punching walls, saying you're a shit fucker, you're no good, will not work. It doesn't work. Might have worked in your day, but these are 20-year-old men. It does not work. They need to be told they're doing great. They need to be told they've got a 12-incher, as you said before. They need to be told you're the god of all gods, my friend. Arm around them. Get out there. That's how you fix it.
You know what? It's funny, right? Because like I've been thinking about it, and like this is my job. This is like my bread and butter, doing development and mindset and working with various teams. And like I was asked on Monday, he goes, what the fuck would you do if this was your team? Right. And I was thinking about it. And at first I thought like you, right? I thought like you. And then I thought, I actually think, and I could be totally off the mark, and I just want to know what the chat's vibe is. But I listened to Voss, and what Voss is saying, up till this press conference reminded me of doing what you're doing. He's trying to take the pressure off them, keep it away from them, and he's trying to I wouldn't say mollycoddle because I think that's a negative word, but trying to be a dad and say, look, I'll take the blame. You guys sort yourself out. I said to him that I think that you might need to charge them up a bit. So I was actually the opposite way of what you're thinking. And I was like, I would actually show them last week some of the fucking atrocious calls that they made, right? So a great example, right, would be your dad here. He said Sard's getting tagged, right? If you actually go back, I'll post it if I can be bothered to do it again, right? But in my review, I timestamped some moments where Doc is literally screaming at Wheater to kick to him in the open. He is out in the open. It's an easy handball. And last year, he was blazing outside of 50. Carlton ignored him, went long, ball is turned over, right? And there's 5 individual moments that you actually see Doc go like that, or he calls it for himself, and it goes over, right? I actually think Voss needs to fucking call them to account, right? Because, and this might sound crazy because after what you said, because I agree with what you're saying, I actually think they have been mollycoddled a bit too much because, in my opinion, this is 2,000% on them. And I want to use an example. Respect is earned, players know players. For Steel Sidebottom to laugh at the end of the game said to me, I looked at it if I was back playing toe golf. If I laughed at my competitor, I'm laughing because they have fucking done everything wrong themselves. It's not because of a swing change. It's not because of mindset. I've looked at them and gone, you fucking took a 7-iron when it was an 8. Or you've played a flop shot when you should have played a bump and run with a 9. And I'll find that funny because I'm like, you're a fucking idiot. You've only got yourself to blame, right? I actually think Voss's change of demeanor to me said that if I was Michael Voss this week, I would have got the video up and gone, Wheater watch this. Why did you not pass it to him? Why did you not pass it to him? You did it the first 2 minutes. Mate, you're an advice fucking captain. Cripper, right? In the 4th quarter, atrocious. Handball to Walsh, a staggering 4 times because he didn't want to take the contact. Where the first centre bounce, Cripps took the contact, handballed it to a runner. Call him into question. I'd call, God love him, I'd call Doc into question. And for me, like Hannah nails it. When I saw Sidebottom do that, that was him basically saying to me, a fan, your club is a piss take. Your club lost that game. It wasn't Voss. It wasn't Sayers. Your players have the testicular fortitude of a docked rabbit, right? That's what I heard. So for me, I actually think these boys, because they like to play on emotion, I'd fire them up. And I would probably, first thing I'd do this week, show them that Sidebottom interview. And I'd finish my pre-game address by smashing the fucking door off its hinges and go, if I ever see our rivals laugh at us at the end of the game, 8 players will lose their job tomorrow morning.
Yeah. I agree with what you're saying, but not now. That should have happened when we were 8-2 last year and dropped those games. That should have happened after the Adelaide game. The boys are broken. That is going to do nothing for their self-esteem, burying them even further. They are so buried. They are so fractured. I agree with you. I love all that side of it, but that should have happened before it got to this stage. This is on maybe the coaches to allow it to get to this stage because they are so fractured and broken that I don't know how much more some of these boys can take. So you need a circuit break. You kind of need them to get out there, shackles off, get that win, get back in form, and then go from that. Playing. One thing I'll say as well is pre-game, the coach addressing the players pre-game, it's a non-thing. You can't fire up the boys in the rooms pre-game, especially during things like Indigenous round. Like, why? Because there's 15 minutes between when the coach talks to you to when the ball is bounced. So anything you say, your arousal levels can't be that high for 15 minutes. It's up to the captain, once the toss is done, to get in the circle and do that speech. It's not up to the coach, because everything that's said before the game is gone, because you've got national anthems, you've got sponsors, you've got the Indigenous things, you've got all this stuff happening prior to the game. So think about the time, and think about when you're playing a sport and you can't keep your arousal levels up for so long, and then it just goes away. So poor starts, to me, it's on the leaders in the circle right before that opening bounce. It's not on Vossi, it's on those leaders. And I agree with you. It is 100,000 billion million trillion % on the players, right, as far as the performance goes. But I think they're so broken. I think they are so shattered. It is my job. My profession is to deal with young people, and they're young people. And professionals or not, I don't care if you get paid $800,000 a year, $8 a year. If you keep calling a useless prick, useless prick, useless prick, useless prick, useless prick, at some point, whether it's 1 day, 10 days, 100 days, it's going to wear you down. And they're worn down, and they just need a circuit. They just need to go out and win, have some fun, kick some ass. I thought the West Coast game was going to be it. Kick some ass, have some fun. They should have walked off feeling $1 million. Then when the St. Kilda game occurred straight after that, that's when this absolute shit canning should have occurred. When the players are at their highest. Shit can them when they're at their highest, not when they're at their lowest. You don't kick a dog when they're down. I don't care how professional they are.
Well, you see, I mean, like, what I'm thinking is what I see, and I think some of you guys are on the right path. Like, I'm not saying embarrass them, right? I'm not saying I'm not going to call it, but I think Fred Blogs, I think you misunderstand what I'm saying. I actually think it's not their moral fiber that causes them to do this. I think it's their willingness to do it. And what I'm seeing is, and it's so obvious when you look at the GPS data, these players stop running for each other. Collingwood aren't a million times better than us,
no.
But what they're doing is they're running in 3s and 4s. You watch Carlton in the first quarter, right? They started to run with each other. There was 2 and 3 tackles. One of them little dust-ups was Newman and Wheatering grabbing the same guy, working as a team. As the game wore on, though, players were getting more spread, going, nah, you know what? Fuck it. I can't be asked. Do you know what I mean? I better get here in case Wheatering misses the tackle, right? And that was the attitude. And you start to see players drop back. So what I would be calling into question is their pride. Because as a professional sportsman, regardless of your affiliation, you have a little bit of pride. And most of people who make it know the odds. 1% of people will become a professional athlete and get paid. 10% of that 1% will earn enough to do it for a living for the rest of their life. You already know, by being in that building, you're fucking better than everyone else in the world. Do you know what I mean? You've achieved something that few people will ever reach already. So there's a little bit of self-pride that's been generated from 16 years old, 15, 14. What I would be calling into question is, do you have any fucking self-pride? Like, how much do you want this? Like, I would be saying, fuck the club for a minute, fuck the fans, look at yourself in the eyes, and is this how you want to act? Do you want to see a bald-headed melt laugh because of your ineptitude to make their captain look like a superstar? And okay, he is a very good player, but he worked that's probably the easiest Darcy Moore's worked for more than 5 intercept marks. I would be calling it into question, do you want to fucking leave Ollie Hollands to chase down and bump Taylor Adams? He's a first-year player. It's your fucking job, Kennedy. That was the one time Kennedy let us down. And I think it's not about being abusive, but I would be trying to show the players, I'm fucking sick of you guys not executing. Because we're talking, as a whole game, these boys stack up top 8 of the competition in every numerical data. So I know people go, oh, stats don't matter. Newsflash, the reason golfers hit the ball further, all stats, sports science. right? Everything is science now. I would be asking the question, where's this? Where I wouldn't say coward because that's harsh, but it's a very safe mentality, and this game plan is meant to be the safety net they need. But the problem is, if they don't commit to themselves, to each other, to us, to the club, that's all incidental. Because at the moment, I am seeing 18 men out of 23 on the ground who haven't even committed to themselves, right? Haven't even committed them to themselves. And Whelan is number one on the ladder for me at this. You can see the general fear. But Hannah, to answer your question, those stats don't lie. They don't. It's obvious why Carlton is shit. You can see the areas with GPS data. You add them in. It's not individual stats we're talking about. But it's massive. Kicking efficiency is a great start for Carlton because on the whole, it's very good. But when you look at it in certain sections of the game, you can see straight away, post a goal, Carlton's kicking efficiency goes down by 20%. Add another goal, goes down by 40%. Before you know it, you can see it. And this is all because, in my opinion, the players aren't flimsy. They're flimsical. And I would be wanting their pride coming back. And I appreciate they might be a little bit down, right? But they are full-grown men, Fazz, in my opinion. They are getting paid an awful lot of money. It's not a surprise to them that they're going to get constructive feedback. When they walk through the doors of Prince's Park, they knew what the fans were like. They're a proud fan base. If they're surprised by it, they're fucking idiots. But...
And that's fine, but... Yeah, that's fine. And I agree with the constructive, but what the fans are doing now is not constructive at all. In fact, I think the best thing for this football club to do is to go to Sydney, away from our supporter base. Because I've seen it. I've witnessed it. The minute one kick goes wrong, a supporter base, they get annoyed. They piss off. And hey, leaving a game, that is your prerogative. I could care less. Do what you want to do. But what our fans, some of the things our fans are saying is not constructive feedback. And I don't know if the players are down because of the fans, because of their performing. Because I don't know why the players are down. But I'll throw one out for you before we move on, because this is a long chat. But is there some realm of possibility, bearing in mind in the last 18 months we replaced president, CEO, every single assistant, coach, all that, right? And list manager. Is there some realm of possibility that the current people in charge of this football club do not rate this playing group as far as outside of the core and saying, well, this is the game we want to play, and come hell or high water, if you don't play it, you're gone at the end of the year? Is that I don't know the answer. I'm saying, is that a possibility?
I think there's a lot of fuckers that, I mean, if I was the coach, I can't answer Voss for Voss, but if I was the coach, I can count 14 players that I wouldn't want fucking anywhere near my 22, right? Yeah. Quite honestly, because I don't trust them. But I will counter this, that at the end of the day, like when my pop, God bless him, went to Dunkirk, there was probably half of his regiment who weren't fit to fight. But to stay alive, you've got to fucking make it work, right? Now, there's nothing we can do. We can't sack 14 players and bring in 40 players right now.
Correct.
But my issue is I look at it this way, and I don't want to be offensive to Australians, but I think Australian culture looks at things really fucked, right? And I love you, Fazz, but when you're I understand. I think some of the things I've seen about the fans and what fans have said, some of it's distasteful. When you're slating a player's personality, I don't like that, right? And some of the things that I've heard, I don't like it. But what I will say is people look at that as a negative thing, right? But when I see Snapper going on the radio and going fucking off, when I see, I don't know, your dad getting angry when he loses, if I was a player, maybe because I'm British, I know fans are volatile. I see it that you fucking believe in me. So when I get angry at a player like Whelan, It's because I'm expecting 10 out of 10 all Australian Jacob Whelan. I'm expecting Whelan to take that mark, sees Sard make a run, hits him on the tit, Sard fucking takes off. I'm angry because I expect it. However, if Dow played this weekend, I wouldn't get angry if he didn't have 40 touches. I'd get angry when he doesn't do the bare minimum of what I expect from him. And at the moment, I love these players like they're my sons, but I would say there is 15 players at the moment that who have played the last 2 games that if they're honest with themselves, they haven't executed the bare medium to play NAB League football, let alone VFL, let alone AFL. And I think that these players need firing up because I don't believe Cripps is shit. I don't believe Harry's shit. I'm seeing guys out of form, and I look in round ball when players aren't playing well. Genuinely speaking, they get a fucking bollocking, and then that self-pride takes over. Do you know what I mean? That self.
I think you nailed it.
Personally, if my boss pulled me into the office and goes, "Oh, Pom, oh fuck, you were fucking about yesterday. You were fucking about," and he started calling me into question, I'd be like, you know what? Fuck you. I'll show you how fucking good I am. I'll show you how good I am. Right? So for me, I think this is where they need to lift a little bit because they, like James nails it. We have faith in them. Like we know what we're seeing at the moment ain't what they're about. Right? At the moment, and I'm talking basics. Take your kicking out of it. 90% of Carlton's problems, just watch Collingwood. They're the masters of it. They lead, work hard for each other. They give themselves easy kicks because they run so fucking hard, right? For each other. Bobby Hill does what Motlop does, ends up in the defence, but then he bursts back forward. He's busting an arse to get there. We don't. And that is self-preservation. So rip the self-preservation off Carlton. Fuck everything else. Play for yourselves, your reputation.
Well, I think you nailed it at the very start of that sentence what you said in regards to Australian culture versus the English culture. I mean, if there were people in the stands chanting some of the chants that they do at the Premier League games, those people would be banned for life from AFL football. So it's a completely different culture that you're brought up with. But I do tend to agree in the regards of that, no one thinks that our core players are shit. But the problem is, as you said, the thing is, how do you fix it? Because at the moment, we've spoken for 45 minutes and we've jumped from it's the players to they're not executing basics to is it the coaching play? Like we don't know. I don't think anyone actually knows the answer of how to fix this because I've seen everything from throw the game plan out the window and go to what we did last year. But that won't work because our players are butchering the ball like nobody's business anyway. So it's messy. But again, I'll continue because I know my 2 mates are listening to me because they've messaged me laughing. He goes, they're saying, Carlton are all right. What are you guys going on about? And so that's the reality. I think we are so passionate. We are so one-eyed about it. We think that everything is just going to explode. Everything's going to explode. But you know what's going to happen? We win tomorrow night and everything's good again. It's an amazing what they do. Whether we win by 1 point or 100 points, everything's going to be good again tomorrow night. And I think that's what it's all about. And I agree. Get a sports psychologist down there. I understand everyone coming at me around that regard, but it's proven. It's proven. And if anyone wants to DM me, I'm happy to go through years and years and years of research and study well before these people's time and all that to go through. That is proven. The mental aspect of anything is more important than the physical aspect. Way more important. So get a psychologist down there, win tomorrow, come home. I hope the boys win tomorrow night and I hope they get on the piss, come back down and happy days. Let's have it.
Mate, I agree. And we've got a thing to finish with, right, from our good friend Adrian Sal. So I thought this could be a little game for all of us, right? I thought we've talked a lot about the players, right? And we've got our out of contract players, right, next year.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought we could go through them for a bit of fun. And do we keep them, right? Or do we?
Oh, I love this.
So I thought, let's do it together, right? Let's do it. So Alex Chincotta is a non-free agent this year. Are you all keeping him, chat? Or are you getting rid of him?
Keeping.
I'm in the keep category. Chat.
Yeah, keep.
Are we keeping him? Because we've got a special one to talk about because I keep willing him out of the door.
Oh, man. I don't want you to get... When you get to one of them, I'm just going to say no comment, all right? Because I know what's going to happen. I'm just going to say no comment when you get to one of them because I've been buried tonight and you know what? There's only so much my DMs can handle. So when you get to this one in particular, I'm going to say no comment. So continue.
Just to clarify, Freds, I wasn't having a go. I said, I opened my sentence as well with this isn't a criticism. I was saying that it's just my notice of Australian culture is very different to English culture, which I see it because I've lived in both areas, right, for most of my life. But I would say that it's a lot different, and that's the problems I see. So I don't mind it. It's not a criticism. I just think it's a wonderful, staggering thing. I mean, I live here. My kids are proudly Australian. My wife is an Aussie girl. I use my blue passport with a fucking load of pride. Do you know what I mean? I'm proud to have Oz in my moniker. So I'd never criticize Australians at all. I'm just saying it was a difference. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Difference.
Yeah, no,
different.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. We love
you. If you were the same with the Poms, I'd be fucking worried. Do you know what I mean? I'd be worried.
All right, let's go. Next one. Chincotta, next one. Let's go. Hit me.
Brody Kemp.
Try to keep. I would try to keep. Emphasis on the try because I don't think we'll keep him, but I would try to keep. Yeah, definitely. I want to keep him.
Keep. Would you keep? Yeah, everyone's keeping. I've got to say, Gav, I'm really sad that the club has pulled apart a little bit of your love for the club, man. You know, that's what hurts me the most. And without going back to the old conversation, I think that's something that I'd love to get through to the players, that people are losing their love. Like, that's a dark place to be, I think. And
spot on.
Bit of responsibility. Marchbank, you're going to hate me. Fuck him off.
Go on. See you later. Get rid of.
Sorry, Jasmina, if you're watching. I know he's your boy, but...
No, Marchbank's got to go. Got to go.
Someone's going to say, keep. 10-year deal.
Yeah.
No, hey, chat. Hey, chat. Hey.
Hey.
Hey, chat.
Hey,
chat.
Fazz is not an idiot after all, eh?
He's not. He's a lovely guy. Right, Connors.
Gonskis.
Oh, yeah. Like I can't. I love Cunningham. Right, I love Cunningham, but I just can't do it anymore. Like him being there is an inconvenience to my psyche.
Yeah, I want to do that. Who was it the Arsenal guy? It's time to go.
Time to go.
Yeah, time to go. Yeah, nah, Cunners is gone, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's one of them players that, kills me because your brain goes, fuck, he'd be good. But I'm sick of saying he'd be good.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I can't do it in my brain. Okay, so far, chat, we've kept 2 players, delisted 2. This is going to pain me. Domaku. Are you going to give him... He is eligible for one more rookie deal. So do you sign him to another rookie deal and have a little bit of a chance? Yeah. Or do you sack him off?
Rookie deal. Keep. Why not? And I've got a reasoning for this. We need to make this next generation academy work. We need to make it work. Do you know what I mean? Like, so keeping him, if for nothing else other than younger people saying, "Oh, look, he's getting to go." So, do you know what I mean? Like, it's almost he almost needs to be the poster boy of we need to make this work. It's a leg up. You know, if you can get this right, it's a leg up. So you got to keep.
I feel such a traitor. Sack him off. Sack him off.
Look, yeah.
Right, fair. Ed Kerner. I'm going to make this easy. Retire.
Yeah, retired. Not delisted. Retired.
Hudson O'Keefe. Right.
I'd say Hudson O'Keefe.
Oh. This one's a bizarre one because this is a little bit like Dom. I don't see what they're trying to do with him. But, I mean, it's harsh to sack him off after 12 months. So, one more year. But genuinely, you see, the Ed, I don't mind that. I'd sign him in the VFL deal.
Yeah.
I would quite. I wish we'd done that with Mark Murphy and players like that. Like, put some experience around them. But
good to have around the club, but kind of not. You don't really want them playing.
Yeah. Okay. This one's going to be my people. Jack Silvani.
No comment.
Trade.
Okay, I will comment. Gone. I'm glad you said it first. Gone.
Trade, and I'll say for why. I think it's fairer for him. And I think that we need to look at that high half forward position. Ash Johnson battered us. So for me, I think there's value there. And do you know what I mean? I want someone that can make that role his own. Ash Johnson, interestingly, he's out of contract this year.
I'm having a mare. I'm actually having a mare tonight. Jeez, I thought I was going to get buried, but a few of the people tend to agree. I've really underestimated tonight. Jack Silvani's got to go.
You got to remember the Pommy and Oz fans are the best in the league.
Yeah,
are the best.
I know. I believe it. Yeah, they can. Yeah. Anyway,
I'd say third. The reason I'll say trade is I don't think he's good enough to be top 8 in our game style, and I think there's a third there. I think there's a third there. I genuinely think.
Darren Bloomfield? Darren Bloomfield, this is the perfect. We have come a full 180 with Jack Silvani. I'll give you a little story. When he got drafted, all my mates would say to me, if his name wasn't Jack Silvani, you'd never have drafted him. If his name was Jack Smith, you wouldn't have drafted him. I said, nah, mate, he's a good player. And I used to say, if his name wasn't Jack Silvani, you wouldn't be so hard on him. And now we've come the full way. And I agree. If his name wasn't Jack Silvani, he would have been gone already. So yeah, I love that little bit of synergy, how it's just come around. But yeah, he's in trouble.
John, you know, Cunners, I will say this. If he plays 8 games for this year, I'd rookie him. But it would have to...
Dangerous territory.
It would have to be a rookie deal, right? But I just look at the draft this year, a third, you can get some pretty tasty half forwards. We'll do these in a collection because I think I know the answer. Josh Honey, Lockie Fogarty, and Plowman.
No. Honey gone. Fogarty gone. Plowman gone. Yeah, all gone. Yeah, unfortunately, I like Lockie Fogarty and Lockie Plowman are two of the best blokes you'll ever meet in your life. Unfortunately, you don't win flags being a good bloke. So, unfortunately, they're probably going to go. But geez, we've named like 9 blokes going, man. I don't think you can get rid of that many.
I actually think there's 11 who'll go this year. I think you'll actually
that's big changes. But
I actually think you'll see Nick Often go mental.
I hope so. But if you look, of those 3, if you said to me, gun held to your head, you have to pick one to keep, I'm probably keeping Plowman out of those 3. But all 3, gone.
My thinking is Josh Honey plays the easiest role in AFL. There's about 20 players, pick 40 who can do that role. Fogarty, I don't see the point. I watch him in the VFL and I'm like, what the fuck? Like I just don't see it, man. It's the same with Dow. Can we stop wasting our time with players we know are never playing first and just give it to Jack Carroll, right? It fucking winds me up right? Because it's just wasting my time reviewing it. Plowman, fuck off, right? Mitch McGovern, right? So this is the one that people wanted to talk about. I've had a lot of questions about this. For me, I think this is a big Pom call, but he's on an estimated anywhere between 600 and 800, depending on what media outlet you believe. I think it's about 600, genuinely. I would say that's a safe. People saying, oh, we've paid him 600K, he'll stay for 300K, mental.
No chance.
Because he won't. I agree with Paul. I think salary cap to burn at West Coast, they'll get West Coast seem stupid and go, oh, we can pay brothers together. Yay. Yeah. I reckon they'll probably pay him a 400, 500 deal for a year or two and give him it.
And I'll be perfectly
a third, second.
Yeah, I'll be perfectly honest. Mitch McGovern is playing like a player who maybe not knows that he's on his way out, but kind of, you talk about self-preservation. He's playing like a player who knows he cannot get injured. He cannot get injured. So keep that in the back of your mind when you watch him this week and in the future. Some things I've seen him, I'm not saying he's not. It's hard to say. He's dropping marks, and you only drop marks when there's no conviction with how you're going for the ball. And I think could even be 1 or 2%, but he's not going 100%. And I genuinely believe it's a fear of getting injured because he knows this is his last chance to get a contract, be it with us or somewhere else. And I think he's gone.
And to me, I look at it this way, right? I've been a big advocate of Brodie Kemp. I followed him his entire juniors. Probably the most excited I've been about a draftee, other than maybe Ollie Hollands, actually Cowan, because I was huge on Cowan. So, but Kemp for me has got everything McGovern's got, but he's got longevity, and I like the cut of his jib. So for me, I reckon it's an easy second. I reckon if Carlton maybe play wise and try and... I think West Coast, Pom's big goal, West Coast 1,000% will trade pick one. 1,000%. The way that they play, the way that they recruit, they're geniuses with WA talent. They will know that. So for me, that's probably what they'll do. And I reckon that's where Carlton can maybe maximise and maybe pay 200 of his salary for 2 years, knowing that the recontracting of Kemp will be less than the recontracting of Brodie, of McGovern, and maybe get a higher pick back than probably what they're expecting. So I reckon that's a thing. Dow.
Yeah, he's gone.
Has to be, doesn't he?
Yeah, has to be. Has to be.
The reason I say he'll trade it is Harley Reid has been quite public that he's not keen on leaving state, and that has been very open. And for the second reason, need to complete their rebuild. Yep. Pick one is so valuable this year to the right teams that you could find 4 or 5 players for that very quickly.
Yeah, keep an eye on North Melbourne and Hawthorn trading their pick 2 or 3, amongst other things. Yeah, keep an eye on them for do Hawthorn have 2 first-round picks this year? I can't remember. Anyway, but keep an eye on that for pick 1. I'm certain Harley Reid will be in Victoria in one way or another.
I'd love him here, to be honest.
He won't be. He won't be for us, unfortunately. But yeah,
hey, he turns me on. Nick Newman.
Keep, and some. Give him a pay rise.
Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Nick Newman. I'm probably keeping him for a year. I reckon a year extension. Because, right, why I'm delisting so many players, I'm not saying our 22 is shit. I'm saying our 22 to 30 is shit. I want Nick Newman to be the first choice replacement, a player that I know is 6.5 out of 10 in the AFL. I'm sick of having players that I'm like, could be good, could be shit as my replacements.
Was it high floor, as you would say?
High floors. Sam Durden, I'm going to be controversial. Fuck him off. Yeah. Our backup key defender has hamstrings of plastic.
And I got to be honest as well with this whole key defender thing. And I see a lot of people talk about Young being dropped, and geez, we're short in the back. You know, not many teams have two big key forwards. I think a lot of the times we think Carlton are playing Carlton every week. We're one of the only teams who've got two real big power forwards. So you actually don't need two big defenders. I mean, you look at a lot of the good teams. Melbourne's a perfect example. I mean, you've said it many times. Stephen May is as big as Brody Kemp. Do you know what I mean? Like so I think you don't really need someone like a Durden there because they've dropped Young. You know, I think, hamstrings made out of spaghetti. And I think that moving forward, you can get away with not playing two big key lockdown defenders. In fact, you can't play two lockdown defenders, which is, I think, where we've gotten into our trap a little bit.
And the last two, well, I'm skipping this one, Sam Phil. But if you're keeping Sam Phil, fuck me, you're probably his dad. Do you know what I mean? His dad.
I don't even know what he looks like.
Do you know what I mean? But this is an important one here because I've got something fun to end with, a little scenario to tell you, right? But Tom de Koning, right? Chat.
Oh, here we go.
We're going to be twofold here. You either re-sign him or you trade him. If you trade him, I want to know, what value are you looking for?
I'm very much caught in a mind of what I want to happen versus what I think will happen. What I want us to re-sign him. I want us to sign him for 2 more years, and then he go out big either on a free agent or a trade, whatever. But I want us to sign him for that 2 years. If he's smart, we can do that. What I think will happen, I think we'll trade, and I think the talks of 2 first-round picks is a joke. That ain't happening. It'll be probably a first rounder and a second or a third rounder. I think Adam Chera, the Adam Chera deal is probably about where it sits. You know, we get a first and a second and then we give him a third back or something like that. I think it'll be something like that.
I think that's fair. Chat, send your suggestions. Trade to West Coast, re-sign.
Yeah, I want him to stay. But we'll see. But I think
I think based on his output, you may get a first, but I think if Carlton are clever and throw him up forward a bit, I think it's good. Now, Pete, I knew people were going to ask this. John, you're very clever. I like the way you're seeing this. I am pro keep TDK, and I've got a sneaky feeling that he may stay on a shorter deal. I actually think you might get a 2-year deal out of him and Carlton dangle the carrot that we sent you then as a restricted free agent where we've got a little bit of power, but your value may be triple what it is now should you make A. I feel that Carlton may see that. But I wanted to talk to you. So in 2011, as we know, GWS came in. And you're going to have that situation in 3 and 4 years. Now, looking at it and basing it on the time then of teams that were at the top, Carlton are in a real strong position here because Carlton are caught somewhere between. They've probably got enough top-end talent to tide them over till the draft reopens, right? They've probably got enough with Nick Austin's ability in the second and third rounders with the doggies, solid list that he built there to tide them over, that Carlton can start thinking long-term and going, right, teams are going to need to do massive rebuilds. Picks are worth more to other teams. That great example, Geelong won't do it because they're too smart. They'll just keep their same thing. But some of the teams that are on that wrong side of the draft age, we'll call it.
Richmond, for example.
Yeah, Richmond are probably going to have to look at doing something. You look at some of the oldest lists at the moment, just very interesting when you look at their core ages. But teams like the Dogs aren't getting any younger. So what I'm suggesting is that this year has the most free agents anyway. So this is the year that Carlton maybe look at getting rid of their torch, maximizing the picks, and then filling it up with players in the draft that are probably going to be your B to B plus grade players in the draft later, but also picking up some players that are fairly healthy for free. Jade Gresham's been floated around, names like that. So what I wanted to say to you is that Carlton, if they do it right, before Tasmania come in, they have a real strong chance of maintaining this list. And then, maybe in 2 and 3 years' time, looking at selling some of these older players at that point and building their list around their new 24, 25-year-olds.
Spot on. And I think because the goal is to win a flag, yeah? The goal is, it doesn't matter when you win that flag, whether it's 2023, 24, 25, whatever, the goal is to win a flag. I was actually chatting about this today, and we're talking about, I see a lot of people saying, Carlton need to rebuild. Our core is fine. We actually don't need to bring in any more A-grade players. We actually don't. Assuming our stars actually get back in form, we've got just as much as any team in the comp. In fact, you actually don't want any more of those. Otherwise, your cap, Bryon Cook even said it, our cap is heavily tilted towards our stars. So we're in a strong position. We don't have to go out and find the next superstar or the next whatever. Like, we don't have to trade for an Adam Sard or a Chera anymore. We've got them there. So it's so much easier to top up your list that way now. Think about Geelong. There might be a George Hewitt is a perfect example. Hand on my heart. I guarantee you, I obviously knew of Georgie, but I guarantee there'd be a lot of people who didn't really know George Hewitt, what he was about, how he played, comes across a Carlton, look at him. There are squillions of players like that. Players who, when we recruit, Akers is another one. When we recruit, oh, geez, that's not a sexy name. He's not going to take us anywhere. But they're low. They give you a minimum 6 out of 10 or 6.5 out of 10. And that's easy. That's easy to fill. That's Nick Austin has a really good opportunity to do that. We don't need any if you can get one on the cheap, terrific. But you actually don't need any more superstar talent. We just need to get them back in form.
I'm with you. I'd love some players, like the Neil Bullen types, players like that. Like I watch Melbourne, and I love Neil Bullen because he goes at high half forward. He'll play forward pocket. He's part of the midfield rotation. He's that like Swiss Army knife where everywhere he is, he's just better than AFL average. Just better than AFL average. And that's why when I watch Melbourne, everyone talks about Oliver. Everyone talks about Viney, Tracker. I watch him and I'm like, fuck, I love you. Because he just comes in and he's like, all right, on the ball, tackle, win the hard ball, handball it out to better play. Oh, you need me a high half forward. Okay, tackle, goal assist, snags. And I'd love 6-7 players like that. But it's interesting, Ram. I don't know if you've got my notes, Rambo. You know what? I want to leave you with some fantasies. Sydney, would you have a sniff at Papley if I told you that Papley was gettable this year? And Voss has shown his hand. He likes a marking high half forward, and he likes a high half forward who's a bit smaller than the average bear. And if you watch my preview, we talked about Heaney and Papley being that combo at high half forward the last 2 years. They've redefined their roles. Do you know what I mean? A little bit older, as Adrian says, so the value's gone down. You look at what Sydney have got in the draft this year, I reckon he's gettable with their young players coming through. Would you have a sniff at Thomas Papley?
100%. 100%. Don't throw ages at me. Don't throw he's 29 next year or is this or that. I don't care. Get him. Our biggest weakness is the fact that, and I like them, but Durden and Motlop just clearly aren't ready yet. They're not ready yet. They're good young players. I'm assuming they will be good players. Get him. 100%. And not just that there are players who you can get on the cheap in that. And I say this now, I don't want to be misquoted here because I promise you now, I'm not saying I want them on my list, but I promise you now, if Ned Cahill and Ronk were on our list, they would have played an AFL game already this year. I promise you that. I don't want him on my list. I'm not saying I do, but that's the situation we're in with our small forwards. If Ned Cahill was on our list, he would have had a game already, 100%.
Do you know what I mean? I agree with you. I just think Tom Papley, do you know what I mean? What will he be next year? Is it like 28, 27?
29. No, 29. It's prime, is mate. Prime. Yeah. Prime.
I thought he was 27 this year. Let me check that. I don't want to go with misinformation.
Yeah, in his prime, mate.
Yeah, he's 27 by the grand final, so 28 next year.
There you go. Oh, please. He's in his prime then, mate. Mate, all these people throwing the wrong ages. I'm trying to back you, chat. And someone told me
we're talking about Cripps, I think. 29 for Cripps.
Okay, I saw Sard 31. I'm like, hang on a minute. No, 27, mate. That's in his prime. And
I've got a great story about Tom Papley, and this is 100% true, but a very, 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 very good mate of mine owns a Barbers, and his granddad is at the Barbers. His granddad goes to this particular Barbers and told him directly, he passed me going into the chair. My mate swam me to secrecy. He says, I've cut his hair for 2 years. And he's just told me he spoke to Tom, and Tom is 100% wanting to come to Carlton. 100%.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. There's a few details to work out. Contract issues at Sydney. 100% coming. Fuck me, right? We came that close, man.
We did.
We came that close. But I think it's workable. I think it's workable. I think when you look at what Sydney have got, I was doing some list profiles because it's already draft time for Pom. We start end of May where I start correlating it. Just looked at their profile and I was like, oh, fuck, man. Fuck. Like, he's gettable. I looked at their list and was like, they've got so many young players coming through. They have depth. I looked at the Sydney catchment zone for the draft. There's a few players that will be of interest to them. I was like, ooh, he's probably gettable.
And you know what I love most about Tom Papley is outside of Dom Sheed, he's probably Collingwood's most hated opposition player. Bring him across. Bring him across. The Pies hate Tom Papley. They hate him. I love it.
So there was an extension involved in there, and basically what Carlton were offering was good enough, but it was probably overs from what Sauce wanted. And then, as you know, they wanted recompensation. As Jack says, they started wanting Daniher, and what they asked for Carlton to pay it got messy from that end. So it would be great. It would be great. It would be great. I'd love a Jamie Elliott type player as well. But
yeah, I had when I stayed up when I was doing my teaching rounds long time ago, I stayed up in Echuca and had a few beers with Jamie Elliott. Lovely guy. Really lovely guy.
He looks like it.
Not Echuca, sorry, Euroa. Sorry, Euroa. Sorry, I don't know why I said Echuca. Euroa, yeah.
Well,
lovely guy.
Well, chat, we've gone 20 minutes over. I've really enjoyed the discussion tonight. I think it's been a really fun one, and it's been good, man. It's been good. Me and Fazz disagreed. I'm bollocking the players and making them cry, and Fazz is giving them a cuddle.
Yeah. Somewhere in between is probably the truth.
Maybe they need both of us. Like, I go in, absolutely slate them, and then you're like, come here.
Good,
you know what he means.
Good cop, bad cop, mate. You're actually on to, I don't want to keep us beyond to something there. How often do you see Premier League managers? They're the rollickers. They're you're no good. Drag him off. Get to the bench. And then the assistant managers comes across. It's all right, buddy. You're all right. Mate, there's something in that. There's something in that, I tell you.
Mate, and hopefully this is giving you some solace. Do you know what I mean? Like, my nan, when we used to go on holidays, sometimes would, when we were fishing, drop her undercrackers, piss into the sea, and she used to say every little helps. So hopefully this little bit of piss has helped you guys.
Yeah.
I will say this, though. I want to leave you with this, right? Right. Now, I want you. I love Australia. I've told you this. The only time I fucking hate you guys is cricket. You can get pissed, right? You can all fuck off. Right?
That's coming up too.
Aside from that, I am Team Australia, right? I will say this, though, right? Let's try and be a little bit Pom. I'll bring a bit of Pom culture to you. Big game this week, right? Be critical. Fucking punch the TV, punch your cat, do whatever you do during the game. But really, bring your energies this week. And I'm a firm believer, as a little bit of a cuckoo spiritual person, the energies that they feel here, away, fucking, if you're in wherever wherever Fazz said Echuca. I've never heard of it. Swear he's made it up. Right? Fucking get around them. Get around them. Get around them. Be really, really positive. And then you know what? Fucking hell. Hold them to account, right? Win, lose, or draw. But tomorrow, I will be doing the watch along. Jason, we will do some Ashes streams, me and Fazz. He can dress up in his shitty green hat. I'll dress up in a proper navy one. Chat, get around them. And if you don't have a cat, steal your neighbour's cat. And honestly, fucking let's get fucking around them because they need to turn this round because I'm sick of doing losses.
Spot on. Go Blues.
Go Blues. See you next week, chat.